Hi, and welcome to Pathway to Compliance. I'm Lisa Dubrock, and I'm here today with Carol Eastman, who is the CEO and founder of ReadyAI.dev. Can you tell us a little bit, Carol, about ReadyAI and why this is such a passion for you?
Yeah, and thank you for having me on, Lisa. I'm excited to be here. I've been in technology for my entire career. I'm very familiar with security and compliance and governance, from networking to software and throughout the entire organization. And last year, I decided to start another business. I had two other tech companies that I had created and successfully exited, and I decided I wanted to do it again. And I decided it needed to be in AI governance because there's a lot of hype around AI, a lot of noise. And I decided to create Ready AI in order to help the enterprise address compliance and governance issues. Ready AI is a consulting firm that works with CEOs, board members, CIO, anyone that's discussing compliance, which is right up your alley. And our strategic partner has a platform that accommodates the transparency, the accountability, and the observability of AI usage within an organization on their own private platform.
So tell me how that works. Is that, this application, is it going to stop me from going out and using, Claude or Chat or any of the others? Or is it going to log it?
Actually, it's the opposite. Yeah, actually, it's intended to do the opposite. Shadow AI is prolific. We've seen this in the past with Shadow IT, but Shadow AI is on steroids. And our platform addresses a few issues. I'll get into that quickly. One is that all of the employees who are on this platform have an SSO login like we do with other software. So it's very familiar to the user and for the IT team who's managing it. Once that employee is inside of the platform, they have access to over 60 LLMs and counting. And so, as you mentioned, Claude, OpenAI, Grok, the list goes on. We are hosting all of those LLMs under one platform. And a couple of the benefits when you come into that platform is you can choose the one that you feel is best, or maybe it's most comfortable, or you've been using in a different scenario and you've imported that information over to the platform, you want to continue. Or the platform can make that decision for you and say, this is the best tool for the job. Not everybody, I personally don't know all of the LLMs, and they're changing every week, sometimes every morning. So that's one aspect. The other is that we also have a no-code agent building that is world-class. So employees who want to build their own agents, I have 13 of them today and growing, that do repetitive tasks for me, right? It helps me stay organized. It gives me that thought partner that I need and continue to build. We also have some of our team members who are using them as their own coaches, relieving some of my time from managing on basic tasks that they can work through. So the zero code, or it can be low code agent building. We also have API integrations to endless APIs, and that number I would never quote because that one truly changes every day. All of the major SaaS softwares, a lot of the on-prems, we also have integration with Google or Microsoft, depending upon which shop. Most people are in Microsoft, but there are Google shops. So the staff and employees are able to conduct themselves in a safe environment. Then also the other thing is, the third thing is going to be the management and oversight. And this is where, your team and others come into play, is you have HIPAA compliance, SOC compliance, all the compliance requirements, and are the leaders of the compliance teams really able to say, here's what's going on in my organization with AI. Here's what we're using. Here's who's using it. Here is the information they're uploading, downloading, all of that is contained, just like anything I often reference, like email, right? We all have corporate email that the IT team manages and has access to if they need to. It is a company asset. It also prevents, besides the shadow IT of someone having their own personal accounts, it also gives people who aren't quite there yet the encouragement to start using AI because it's part of their organization's strategy. That's a big one. And nevertheless, the ones that are sitting in the shadows, right? And those are scary because people are uploading who knows what. without the proper guidance. And the other thing is if they leave, it's their own private AI account. They take that information with them. Those are things that should really be on the top of executives' minds. And then the last one is the financial component. This is the big one that keeps hitting the news, like the Uber. I don't know if you saw that in the news. They burned through billions. That's with a B of tokens, and it was not managed. I'm sure somebody had what was it? Lucy, you have some explaining to do.
Yeah.
That moment had to have happened. And so within our framing of pricing, the management can decide who gets how many tokens or dollars. We can also register it as dollars because tokens get very confusing. And so the financial team is being able to exhale and say, okay, my budget is X for the next year, and we get all of this. So I think that we're hitting everything from security, the compliance piece, the financial, and definitely the users are able to adopt AI in a safe place.
So then, as a compliance professional at an organization, is there a portal that I go to see what's going on? Is there reporting? Is there what's the outcome that tells me that my people aren't putting social security numbers out on AI?
Well, you just read my mind. That was one of the things I was going to bring up. One of the features I love. So we have built-in redaction. So your team can come in and say, okay, anything that is, for example, social security numbers, credit card numbers, etc., those can all be redacted prior to the team working with that information in or outbound. And those limits are created by the compliance team.
Okay.
We can also flag words. I've got a school right now that is concerned about students putting certain words into AI that could be detrimental, right? Suicide or bombing or things that could be flagged to the leadership, right, for warnings. And that's just as an example. And we could, continue to expand upon that. So there's a lot of feature functionality, and besides just the access that I discussed in the beginning. And we also can work with developers who say, that's great, but we want to take it one step deeper. For example, the school we're working with, they've got very specific requirements for their student body because it's 7th through 12th grade. These are minors. So we're able to do the integration with our team, or if somebody else has their own team, that's fine. And we can work with them to create those compliance requirements.
So you talked about the fact that shadow AI is on steroids. What makes it on steroids from the regular, shadow IT? Because trust me, as a compliance professional, every company I go to has shadow IT and they don't know how to get their arms around it. So talk to me about this on steroids.
The difference historically has been when we see shadow IT can be something that is connected from point to point. And when it's discovered, we can manage it. We know who's performing that shadow IT, and we can address it from an HR perspective, from a technology perspective, leadership, et cetera. And it does exist. The difference with AI is that it is taking corporate data and if it's done incorrectly with personal accounts, it is being uploaded for the whole world to see. And there are bad actors who are just sitting by waiting for that one employee to upload something. It could be a competitor. It could be another nation. The list goes on. And then all of a sudden, once it's out there, you can't say, oops, we'd like to pull it back now. So that's the difference between maybe somebody, connecting a laptop that they want to do something on the side. We see side hustles or, I don't want to call them innocent, but they're manageable at some level. I mean, there are issues, but the AI, it is, and part of this too, Lisa, is because once it's out there, we really don't know where this is going. I mean, if you ask AI experts, myself, and my executive team and others who live and breathe this every day as global thought leaders, people say, where are we going to be in a year? I have no idea. I really don't. I don't know that anybody does. And so it's not a fixed shadow IT issue for the majority of the issues we see historically. We just don't know where this is going to end up.
Wow. So, this is a partial solution to getting your arms around it, right? So, but if I'm going to be a bad actor, I'm going to be a bad actor, but I'll find a way. I used to be in credit cards, and, trust me, anytime you did something, there was somebody out there trying to figure out how to get that fraudulent credit card faster than you could write the rules to keep
Hmm.
them. Okay. So here we are in this governance. And how often does your model have to be updated in order to deal with everything that's going on? Do you have, a room full of developers out there, or does the tool have that's figuring this out?
That's a great question. And yes, so ReadyAI.dev, our organization, as I mentioned, is in partnership with a platform. And so we are their go-to-market consulting and governance arm.
Okay.
And we are taking that. So they great set of intelligent techies out of Silicon Valley. They were brilliant by seeing this years in advance. So our team is to take, like I mentioned, the governance, the consulting, and the go-to-market. The team that built it and continues to manage it is part of a $10 billion company. And I make a big point of this with our customers. This is not a startup out of the garage with people who do not know what they're doing in tech. And that's what we're seeing a lot. I was asked to check out 2 pieces of software this week, and I said, oh my God, I found holes before I even had my coffee, because they don't have that history that we have of decades of understanding all the security and compliance issues, right? And so, yes, we are constantly managing. So there's a few things. So on the LLM side, those LLMs, we are managing those relationships and those contracts with them so that if there are any issues with one of them, you can easily lift and shift. While you're inside the platform, you don't need to reload everything because it's localized. That's a big thing. I've been in the midst of an OpenAI project and said, oh, this isn't working. I don't have to go get a new subscription. I don't need to load everything. I just said, you know what? I'm going to use Grok for this. And I keep on running. We are sitting on top of both Azure and AWS. Also, if we have clients who have commit spend, like an AWS spend, you hear about this often, our platform usage can also be applied to their commit, as an example, to AWS. And so we are sitting inside of their tenants in order to provide that level of security.
Okay. And then when you go in to see a customer and you say, this is the best thing, we need to do this, you're having some issues you probably don't even know about. So
Yeah.
let's talk. And then how long to get it set up, and what does that company's IT department have to learn?
The setup time is fast. It is truly an AI platform in a box. It is ready, set, go, and it provides the IT team the ability to go to a board and say, we have a platform that we can take to the teams, the employees in the organization, with all of the governance and compliance certificates already completed, as well as our team, of course, can provide all of the deep documentations once we complete an NDA on how we've performed that. So they're not in the position where they have to go out and figure this out. And IT teams historically, they're already overwhelmed, right? They've got projects coming out their ears, and, not all of them are completed because it's a time finance commitment. So we are able to provide them that ability to roll this out to their employees from day one, without having to do all of that back end work and reports and testing and pen tests and all the other things that we're used to, right? It is literally, we can join us at ReadyAI.dev. It says, start here and off you go. So it could be a single person who wants to try it out, to demo it. I mean, of course, we'd prefer to have that conversation, help walk somebody through the demo process. And now the next part is their custom integration, like the redaction. Right. Of course, that's something that we're going to have to address with an integration team. The other part is if we have, there's firewalls. I mean, do we have access to Outlook like any other SaaS? Yeah, there's definitely some dialogue and some work that needs to be created in scope. But from a starter perspective, let's say today you wanted to start using the agent no code building, you could have it done before lunch.
Okay. And do you have specific no code or low code examples that you can load when you start with a new client, so that, like my calendar support or, things of that nature that may come, and is that part of your consulting work, or is that from the developers of the platform?
And that's a great question. Yes, there are already pre-built agents. I use several of them. As I mentioned, for example, our BDR team, they have a pre-built, it's not ours. It was one that maybe somebody else, I don't know where it came from. It could have been in the marketplace. Like some people will build these agents and just leave them for everybody else to use within the marketplace. And because again, it's in a contained environment, or you can build your own and integrate it or enhance the ones that we already have. So as an example, our BDR team is using this sales management coach, and they named her Frenny. And so Frenny helps the BDR team continue to develop their abilities on the go-to-market, because we're, of course, evolving every day. That was pre-built. It was part of the marketplace. It was selected, and off and running.
So if you were looking at governance and strategy and security, all of those wonderful words, right? I use them every day. I'm sure you use them every day. And you're bringing them together with your tool. What is the most important of those three, and why? And how do the rest come along with the show?
It's a great question. I think that the governance piece is the starting point. You know, we to reflect on the question you just asked, how fast could we do it? Sure, we can do it quickly, but I think that there needs to be the governance dialogue from the board, from the CEO. One of the things I want to share is that, we've been working with CIOs this last year, and a resounding response and conversation. And these are intimate dinners. And like I mentioned, our team's been around for decades. These are colleagues that we can have that honest conversation. The majority of them, I'd say 90%, says, I'm waiting for direction from the board and the CEO and the strategy.
Oh, okay.
And because AI is an investment, I consider it an investment in order to accelerate a company, not a cost. I think it's also an ability for the leadership to decide where they're going as an organization. AI is here. It's either going to be your partner or it's going to eat you alive. There's no middle ground. And it's very difficult for CIOs, CTOs, that whole technical team, to make decisions on where they're going to address business issues with technology unless they know the business direction. And then the governance is built around it. And then once we understand the direction and the strategy, your team, my team, we're off and running. But unless I have a map, we are meandering around and guessing that we don't fall into an alligator pit. So it really does need to come from the top as far as the strategy. Now, there's this I'm going to say two things, and two things can be true at the same time. There's also the immediate need to eliminate the shadow AI and put employees into a platform like this to stop that bleeding before something makes the front of the Wall Street Journal.
Bleeding, yes.
So I do believe we can do both. We can lift and shift the employees onto a trusted platform so that they can continue to accelerate in tandem with the executive team as they're building out their strategy. And then how do we expand that API integration? How do we build out the agent integration with different platforms, with Salesforce or et cetera? So we can do both, but it cannot. And what I am seeing is that the technical team saying, okay, we're going to dish out this tool. What do I do with it? Where's the strategy? And finally, as an employee, I want to do my best. People are living fearful right now that AI is going to take their job. AI is going to take their job if they don't learn AI.
Okay.
So there's two sides to that conversation.
So when you go to see a CEO, what's the first question you ask them?
Do they have an AI strategy and who built it?
Okay. And do they usually have one?
They typically have a compliance handbook that was created 2 years ago.
Okay.
That's not a strategy. That's a task.
You're lucky if it's only 2 years old.
It's true, right? And no one's read it. And everybody just signed the little document that they read it and they comply. And then the second question is, if they say, yes, we do have an AI strategy besides the handbook. As I mentioned, who created that strategy? And I am surprised at how many times there's a pause, and it's often a deflection. Well, I believe the IT team says we have AI. Okay, I understand it has AI. For what purpose? There is an analogy. Our executive team member, his name's Ashwin Rangan, and he's notable in the AI governance space. He's written books. He is the former CIO of Walmart, Bank of America. His resume is too long for a podcast. And he has a great analogy, and he says it's similar to asking, do we have electricity? Let me rephrase that. Are we using electricity? And the team, the construction team or whoever does the build out comes back and says, yeah, we put, electricity. There's an outlet in every cubicle and every room. Okay. That's fine. That was an expense. But what am I getting for that? That was an expense. The electric company's happy. We've put all of this stuff into the wall. And even if people plug into it, what are they plugging in? What are you getting for that investment? I mean, that's a very simplistic analogy, but I think it resonates. You've invested, but tell me, what's that ROI? And is it a strategy or was it a tactical item?
So when you open their eyes, is it after you've come back to them with, let me show you what is going on in your business, or is it a initial conversation of opening their eyes? So is it after the fact or, before the fact type of a thing?
I would say
How
it's
are you
before.
getting them on board?
I would say it's a very direct question that CEOs they're losing sleep over it. There's stats that like 86, I think it was Forrester, who put out a report recently that 86% of CEOs are waiting to see one of their comrades lose their job because they did not manage AI correctly. That's a massive number. So this is something where CEOs are actually listening. From a marketing perspective, historically, we didn't target CEOs very much. And if we did, I don't think we ever got a response. We are getting responses from cold calls. They want to talk. They are frightened. We are working with a very large gaming group, casinos and other things within that sphere. And kind of jokingly, but not, their CEO said, I don't want to end up in jail for compliance issues.
Okay. All right. So, Carol, if you had one last thing you wanted to impart here today, what would that be?
Don't wait.
Don't wait. I love that.
Don't wait to get compliant.
I love that.
Do not wait. It's here. When I hear AI is coming, it's not coming. It's here. AI has been around for years. It's just now prolific because people are using it as a consumer, right? And when we look at it from a business perspective, historically, we walk in, I'll use this last analogy. When we walk into a business and I'm a new employee, they hand me my laptop. They say, here's my email. I'm using Salesforce as an example. Here's your CRM. Here's your SharePoint. Everything's locked down. Here's who you log into. Here's your support team, your NOC, everything. I don't come in and say, I'm going to start using my Gmail account and create my own CRM to run a global team. I'd be terminated before, I got through the first day. Why are we allowing this in AI?
Because we don't know.
Because they don't know what they don't know. So I say, do it today because the horses have left the barn. They're not in the barn thinking, they have left the barn. And if you don't get them, somebody else will.
Yep. Well, Carol, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on Pathway to Compliance. I found this an incredible conversation, and I wish you well with Ready AI, and hope to keep track of where you go in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Lisa. I look forward to working with you in the future as well.